You carry a name that has been passed from mouth to mouth by people who have no idea how deep your story really goes. This Sunday, the weight of what they say about you seems to have reached a breaking point, as if every word thrown against your reputation is trying to suffocate everything you built in silence. Stop. Whatever you are doing right now, stop. What I am about to say is not for everyone listening. It is for you, the one who felt the sting of gossip and judgment like arrows aimed at the very center of your being. You have been striving, you have been walking with integrity, and yet, the more you move in truth, the stronger the wind blows against you. Something inside you has stirred, a righteous indignation crying out for justice. And I came to tell you what this means. By the end of this conversation, you will recognize the three foundational truths about how spiritual authority finally silences everything they try to raise against your name. You will understand why the attack you are enduring is not a sign of failure, but an inevitable side effect of the light you carry, a light that disturbs the shadows around you. And before we finish, there is a specific declaration about who you are, a truth that will free you from the need to prove anything to anyone, and I believe this is the exact reason this message reached you on this day. Take a deep breath with me. Let it settle into the part of you that has been waiting longest to hear this. If at least one of these signs touched you, if your shoulders dropped at some point in the last few minutes because you realized you are not alone in this injustice, type the number 777 in the comments. Your fingers typing those numbers is your spirit saying yes to the truth that is now being restored. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real. 777 represents heaven's confirmation over what the earth tries to dishonor. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now, before doubt steals another year from your calling. Type 777 and come back to me. You feel that exhaustion, don't you? The weariness of trying to explain yourself, trying to polish your own image, wanting people to understand your intention while your name is carried by contrary winds. You have spent hours mentally debating with those who are not willing to hear the truth. It is a drain on your energy. You explain, you justify, you present evidence, and the door stays shut because you are trying to convince people who have no authority over your life. But the revelation, the layer you need to access now, is that the attack on your name is actually a forced recognition of your light. Those who do not shine are not noticed. Those who do not carry something authentic, something that disturbs the system of mediocrity, do not suffer this kind of persecution. The fact that they talk about your name, that they try to diminish your path, is involuntary proof that you are at a level they cannot reach. They cannot touch your destiny, so they try to drag your reputation down to the mud where they feel comfortable. When you understand this, the game changes. You stop being the victim of gossip and become the witness of your own elevation. The noise they make about you is simply the sound of your ascent, disturbing those who chose to stay still. Your silence, from now on, will no longer be the silence of hiding, but the silence of knowing that you do not need human defense, because the very truth of your character speaks louder than any rumor. What they say does not define who you are. What they say is only the reflection of the emptiness they carry for not having the courage to be who you are. Picture now the temple courtyard. There in the center of that grand structure, there is a stillness that the merchants and slanderers were never able to inhabit. When you enter that inner court, you understand that truth does not need lawyers. Truth, when it is authentic and grounded in what is eternal, simply is. It does not shout, it does not justify itself before the money changers' tables, it does not bow to public opinion. Those who know the strength of what they carry in their chest walk through the courtyard with their head held high, hearing the noise of men as if it were only wind against stone walls. The wind passes, the noise dies, but the courtyard remains. You have been trying to defend your honor in an arena where the currency is slander. But I invite you to step out of that place. I invite you to enter the courtyard where your name is only spoken with reverence, because there you are not what they say you are. You are what the Creator has already sealed. Take a deep breath with me. Let that image of the courtyard descend into your consciousness now. Sit with it for a moment, feeling what it is like to be free from the need to answer any provocation. If something inside you just sealed itself, if that image of the courtyard landed in a place you cannot explain and brought relief you have not felt in a long time, type the words, "I am ready," in the comments. Let the recognition seal where it just settled. The act of typing those words makes the witness permanent in your own record. Type and come back to me, because the deepest layer you need to unlearn is that urgency to have the last word. From very early on, you were taught that if you do not defend yourself, you will be crushed. You were taught that your innocence depends on how many arguments you can win. But that was a trap. The truth is that proving your innocence to those who have already decided to believe in your guilt is the fastest way to lose your peace. You have been wearing yourself out trying to convince blind people that the sun exists. You have exhausted yourself explaining your conduct to those who lack the moral capacity to understand your intention. Unlearning this is the first step toward your complete healing this Sunday. You are not what they drew over you. You are the work still being built, and the architect does not ask permission to build what he designed. The return to the silent authority of your own spirit is happening now. It is not a movement outward. It is a gathering inward. When you stop explaining, you take back command. When you silence your own defense, you make space for divine justice, which is far more precise and relentless than ours, to take its place. Your Sunday seal is this: the certainty that your life is not a debate, it is a purpose. Every time you feel the impulse to justify yourself and instead choose to silence and lift your thoughts, you are exercising the authority of one who has already won the war before it began. And if something in this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your amen without words, not as a metric, as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. You have carried the weight of a name that has been dragged through winds you never stirred. This Sunday, while many seek rest, you find yourself in an invisible battle, trying to clean what others soiled with careless words. Stop. What I am about to say is not for everyone listening. It's for you who have felt the air heavy with the injustice of being misunderstood. Something happened to you in this moment. Maybe you don't have words for it yet, but something inside you moved, and I came to tell you what it was. You carry a question that no one around you has been able to answer. Why is my name the target of so much falsehood? Now you will hear the answer. By the end, you will recognize the 3 signs that indicate your authority is being tested. You will understand the hidden pattern that has blocked your silence. And before it finishes, there is a declaration of identity. I will speak directly over your life. Something that is the reason this message reached you at this instant. If you have felt a constant restlessness, as if something is out of place every time your name is mentioned, this is no accident. If you have noticed that the more you try to explain yourself, the more people seem to ignore the truth, know that this is a sign of calibration. If, this Sunday, you felt an urgent call to step away from the noise and seek a place of peace, know that it is your spirit asking for protection. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real. Type 888 and come back to me. You have grown tired of trying to explain yourself. There is an exhaustion born not from physical labor, but from a soul weary of being misinterpreted. You try to mend the image others have of you, like trying to hold water in your hands. But listen, the attack on your name is not a sign that you failed. It is a recognition of your light. What shines disturbs those who live in the dim. They do not talk about you because you are small. They talk because your path is beginning to shine brighter than theirs, and that terrifies them. Picture now the temple courtyard. There, silence is not the absence of a response. It is the presence of sovereignty. When someone knows their own nature, they do not need to shout to prove who they are. You learn that truth does not need a defense attorney. It stands on its own. You have spent too much time in the arena of men, answering accusations that should not have even reached your ears. There is a dignity in not explaining yourself to those who have already decided not to understand you. If something inside you just sealed itself, if the image of the courtyard landed in a place you cannot explain, type the words "I see" in the comments. Type and come back to me. There is someone in your life who needs this exact message right now. Someone who has been striving more than anyone around them and still sees the door closed. Someone who walks in silence in a way no one around them can explain. Someone whose face just appeared in your mind while I spoke about the weight of others' words. Send this to that person, not as a recommendation, but as a delivery. Just as it reached you, by warning, carry this recognition onward for someone else who is also holding a posture that no one sees. Take a deep breath with me. Before all this ends, type the words, "I am the chosen one," in the comments. Not as a wish, not as a hope, but as a confirmation. The agreement that has been forming in silence between heaven and your listening is a covenant you will live from for the rest of this season. Type slowly. Let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing. You have carried the weight of a name that has been dragged along roads you never even traveled. This Sunday, the silence around you seems to echo the voices that outside try to define who you are through lies or shallow interpretations. You stopped whatever you were doing because you felt in your soul that this is the moment to put an end to the useless defense of your own reputation. What I will deliver to you now is not an argument to convince those who do not want to be convinced, but an authority that silences the mouth of slander. You will understand today how your spiritual elevation makes your name a target, and why, from this moment on, you no longer need to lift a finger to prove your innocence before the court of men. By the end of this conversation, you will recognize 3 non-negotiable truths. The first is why your name has been the focus of so much attention. The second is the key to the mental rest you lost while trying to explain yourself. And the third is the revelation of a spiritual seal that protects your honor no matter what they say. If you felt a chill or a strange sense of recognition when the title of this message crossed your eyes, know it was no accident. If you have felt an unbearable pressure in the region of your shoulders, as if you were carrying the verdict of people who do not even know your heart, or if you have been waking up with a nameless anguish, know that this is the sign that you are being called to a new level of authority. If at least one of these signs touched you, if you feel that your life has been observed through lenses that distort who you are, type the number 777 in the comments. 777 is the number of divine confirmation, the seal that truth stands above lies. You have felt exhausted. It is an exhaustion that does not pass with sleep because it comes from the constant effort of sustaining an image for audiences that were never interested in your truth. You try to explain, to align the versions, to show that you are not what they say, and the more you speak, the louder the echo. But here is the secret few have told you. The attack on your name is not a sign that you failed. It is a sign that you climbed a step where your light disturbs those who prefer shadow. When you tried to hide, no one talked about you. Now that you have begun to align with your purpose, the noise began. Do not try to silence the noise with your own hands. Let the silence of your integrity be your only response. Picture now a courtyard of an ancient temple, a place where the cold stone absorbs every sound. You are standing in the center of that courtyard. Around you, voices shout, judge, and invent stories, but you realize that in that sacred space, your authority comes from the fact that you do not need to say anything at all. The master who walks in that courtyard does not defend himself against rumors, because he knows that truth is a frequency that does not mix with lies. If that image of the courtyard resonated with you, if you felt that you could finally let go of the rope of self-justification, type the phrase "I see" in the comments. Let that recognition seal your peace. Typing "I see" is your act of withdrawing from the arena of others' opinions. Type "and come back to me." Unlearning the need to have the last word is a process of liberation. You spent years believing that if justice was not done by your hands, it would never happen. But real justice is an unfolding that happens in invisible layers while you continue walking with your head held high. It is not about proving that you are good. It is about recognizing that your nature does not depend on the approval of those who have not yet awakened. Your Sunday is no longer a day of worry about what they whisper. It is a day to anchor your authority in what is eternal. Your soul is being armored so that no verbal poison can reach your center anymore, because you have understood that your name, when planted in the right soil, can only flourish, regardless of what they threw at it. Let your like be your amen without words, a silent agreement with this truth that now governs your days, acknowledging that your honor is not for sale, nor under judgment, but under the protection of what is greater than any human voice. As you remain in this stillness, notice if, at this very moment, someone's face appears with clarity in your memory. Perhaps a friend, a family member, or someone from your circle who, like you, has been carrying the weight of being misunderstood. Someone who has suffered the wear of seeing their own reputation targeted by contrary winds, and who, in silence, has been seeking an answer that doesn't come from people. That person is exhausted from trying to explain themselves to those who won't listen. They carry the hurt of being judged by those who do not know their story. Send this message to them now, not as advice, but as a gesture of protection. Let these words reach those who need to understand that honor does not depend on the court of public opinion, but on the truth that dwells in the spirit. Your name is a seal, and the authority you carry on this day no longer allows external noise to interfere with your peace. Before we close this encounter, I want you to take possession of your true identity. There is a weight you will leave here, and an affirmation you will carry forward, not as a request but as a realization of who you are at the deepest level. Type the words, "I am the chosen one," in the comments. It is not a hope, it is your confirmation. The agreement formed between your listening and the divine is a covenant of armor. Feel each letter being recorded as a new foundation for your existence, a structure that upholds your posture against any slander raised against your name. There is a force that moves when you finally decide to stop trying to adjust others' perception. Slander is often the side effect of someone who climbed a step that others cannot yet reach. The weight you carry this Sunday is not a burden of guilt, but the weight of armor you have not yet learned to wear with pride. When your name is mentioned in dark corridors or empty conversations, what is happening there is not about you. It is about the other's inability to handle what you reflect without even saying a word. There is an authority born from silence, and the louder the noise around you, the deeper your connection to what is unshakable in you must become. Your name, when seen through the prism of truth, does not need lawyers. It stands alone because your path was not built by coincidence, but by decisions many lacked the courage to make. Unlearning the need to have the last word is perhaps the most liberating movement a spirit can make. It is like letting go of a rope you thought was holding you, but actually kept you bound to a well of endless justifications. When you let go, you do not fall. You levitate into a new dimension of existence, where your innocence is not an argument, but evidence that needs no exposure to be real. Your peace is your greatest triumph, and your indifference to others' lies is the clearest sign that you have reached soul maturity. It is not about coldness, it is about focus. It is about understanding that your time is too short to spend cleaning the mud others have thrown your way. Your life is a sacred courtyard, and now you are gathering what was trampled to plant something new, something that blooms far from the eyes of those who only know how to destroy. What was said about you has no power to change your essence, unless you grant that authority through your desperation to be understood. But today, the game has changed. Your name has been returned to you, cleansed of all external projections, ready to be engraved in a new story. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real. This is the moment of clarity you have been asking for, that revelation that separates what is merely noise from what is purpose. By the end, you will recognize the 3 signs that have been appearing in your life, and what they really mean for your protection. You will understand the one pattern that has blocked your rest, keeping you in a constant defense that no longer fits you. And before it ends, there is a declaration I will speak directly over your life, and I believe it is the reason this message reached you on this Sunday. You have felt an exhaustion that does not come from the body, but from the soul, from trying to explain yourself to those who have already chosen not to understand you. You have noticed conversations that used to flow and have suddenly become loaded with an intention you cannot name but feel in your skin. You have been waking up at specific hours, feeling a call to withdraw, to guard yourself, to protect your name, while others try to paint it with colors that are not yours. This is not a random attack. It is the evidence that you have leveled up. When your light increases, the shadow around it stirs, because what was accustomed to your dimness now feels exposed. Imagine now the temple courtyard. There, people passed by, spoke, judged, but the altar remained silent. It did not need to shout to prove it was sacred, it simply was. You have been trying to be the lawyer for your own life in a courtroom that has no judge, only an audience. You have been in the arena when you should have been at the altar. Type and come back to me. Send this to that person, just as it reached you by warning. Before this ends, type the words "I am the chosen one" in the comments. Not as a wish, not as a hope, but as a confirmation. Type slowly, let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing. You are committed, you are sent, you are being led. Right now, all over the world, other people are receiving this same recognition. You are part of something that is not announced with noise, and that is exactly why it is real. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now before doubt steals another year from your calling.